Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. What we got here today, something a little bit different. We're not going to be talking about anything emissions related or any of that. And this is an eco diesel, and y'all know how I love eco diesels. This is actually a drivability concern. We've got a 1500 with 271,000 miles on it. The customer concern on this is there is a humming noise coming out of the rear differential. So I brought it in the other day and jacked it up, took a look at some stuff, and when I pulled the drive line so that I could see what shape the pinion bearings were in, a bunch of gear loop came out from the flange, and the bearings on the pinion are shot, and the pinion's actually floating around in there pretty good. So what we're going to have is an accelerated wear pattern on the ring and pinion gear, and I'm going to get this thing blown apart and then show you just how bad it is. I'm thinking this one's gonna be a little bit deceptive, but we'll get to that. So stay tuned. We'll see you in a minute. All right, nice little quick look inside of here. This is gonna throw down a very huge exclamation point on why you service your fluids. Look at this fluid. That is some of the nastiest that I have seen, except for water contamination. That's bad. I have a feeling when further we dig into this, worse it's going to get. Well, as I told you, I'm pretty sure that we're going to start seeing more and more damage. So this is the passenger side axle. There's the race. It's integral to the axle, machined into it. I already planned on replacing the outer bearings and seals. So this one, passenger side, is still good, but look at the driver's side one. Look at all of the severe pitting on here. Looks like I'll be replacing the axle shaft too. Luckily, I have one. Okay, so we're blown apart here for the most part. Got a couple races to pull out, but this is what I want to show you. This input bearing, input shaft, the pinion bearing, front bearing, the small one, is absolutely wiped out. We got chunks missing. That race is just brutalized. Let me see if we can get a good view on the race. Let me get my light. Yeah, you can see all the pitting in it, and it's starting to knife edge in there. That's where the additional play was coming inside of the rear end, which is what's causing the whole gear set to be replaced as well. You can feel it right across the tops of these gears. It's got a nice little lip on there. I wish you could see it in the video, but you can't. Anyway, we're going to go back together, and we're also doing a rear brake job on this. So let me get the axle housing cleaned up and new races installed, get the pinion installed, and then we'll start setting our backlash and preloads. Alrighty, we got the carrier or the differential housing all cleaned up. I went through and degreased it, used a brush, scrubbed everything out, scrubbed out the axle tubes. That way there's no metal in the bottoms of these. As you can see, nothing in there. Both sides, everything's clean, so that when we go back together with all new parts, we don't contaminate it with any kind of metal. Anyway, we'll get the pinion in and probably show you what the pinion turning torque is after we get depth set. So thank you. Alrighty guys, going back together with the pinion gear, just show you this. Spec, new bearing 17 to 22. We are dead set on 22. I like to have them a little bit on the tighter side with all brand new parts. So there is the pinion installed. We've got the new bearings, new crush sleeve, new nut, new everything. We'll come back after we get the carrier in. All right, I've gone through and done a setup on here and got all my backlash, so I'm going to show you my measurement. If you can't read that, we're sitting at 6.5 thousandths of an inch. Spec on this is 5 to 8. when it's all completed, said and done. So again, I like to set these up a little bit tighter. And yeah, so I'm gonna get reset back up here and I'm gonna run a pattern. Well, before I stop this little segment, I do want to note that every time I put new bearings in, before I set my turning torque and my preload on my pinion, before all of that, all of my differential case bearings, my pinion bearings do get pre-lubed. Okay, just got done running a pattern. Let's see what you guys think. Coast side, power side, we're dead on. I am very happy with that. So here's a tip for you guys. That stuff is not a good lubricant. So before you put this thing back together, put the cover on it and fill it with diff fluid, clean that crap off as good as you can. You don't want to wash out everything else with a whole bunch of brake clean, but get as much of it off as you can. So I'm going to go through, finish all of that, do a rear brake service. Yes, I will do a non-directional finish on the rotors. We'll get this thing put back together, and I've got to press out the studs from that axle, put them into that axle, then we'll be done with this job. I want to thank you all for tuning in, and as always, like, follow, share, all that good stuff. We'll talk to you soon.